Good afternoon, everybody. I always feel weird saying good afternoon at 12 o'clock on the dot mark. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's when it says 12 p.m. and I think, oh, is it really 12? Is it p.m.? Oh, okay, it was a.m. a couple of minutes ago. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and 12, like then you go to 1. It just doesn't make sense. But
yeah,
look, who am I to argue this kind of stuff? But it is the afternoon, just within seconds. But yeah, good afternoon, everybody. If you are here, hello. Yeah, you get the joys of listening to me ramble for the next 90 seconds whilst I try and fill time because it's uncomfortable sitting here in silence. But I am here with Mark. Mark, please help me fill the space a little bit.
Well, we just done an interesting chat, haven't we, about energies and all that sort of stuff, and the work we do and how we help our clients. So yeah, it's fulfilling work, isn't it? When people have got stuck in some way, and we can help them pass that stuckness. Yeah, exactly. Give them a way of overcoming wherever they hit that barrier.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it is fulfilling, and it's nice for me. I love people, right, and relationships. So actually, part of what I enjoy out of that is enjoyment, getting that part back for me. I have two kind of businesses or two sides. It's like I do the PT stuff as well, and I find that is very much like it can drain energy, but for the most part, it gives you energy because ultimately you're just having these really great conversations, and it's like non-focus time as well, right? So yeah.
Physical energy is a weird thing because you have to expel it to gain it in a way. And like I've been to the gym this morning and now I'm full of energy. When you think I've used a lot of energy, I'd be depleted, but it's the opposite, which is a strange concept, really.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I like where you put it as well. Physical energy is you have to use it to gain it. I love that. Look, let's get going. We're 2 minutes in. Hello, everybody. If you are here, please say hello. And if you have any questions for Mark, please do add them to the comments. Because your questions will be better than mine for sure, because I'll be focused and want an answer to something. But I'm really excited to have this conversation about motivation. We were just saying beforehand, motivation is something which my clients will come to me quite a lot on. How do I get motivated? How do I find my spark? How do I find energy? I'm stuck. And actually, when obviously we had this initial conversation, learning about motivational maps, and just talking about motivation, it can be a really interesting topic, and there's lots of different areas to help us gain different types of motivation at different points. So interesting to learn more about how you do it, Mark, and how you use motivational maps and what that is, just to give people some more insights into motivation and performance, because when we're motivated, we perform better as well, right?
Absolutely.
So look, we'll get our introductions done, and then I'll get my introduction done, and then it's over to you. If you are here, my name's Rich. If you don't know who I am a high performance exec coach, helping leadership teams and individuals perform at their best, both in work and outside of work. I have a few different options for you to do that from an individual and an organization standpoint, which you can find out more if you just drop me a line. But I'm also the founder of a wellbeing education company called M.E.A.S.U.R.E, which is connected to the podcast you're on, and it's kind of where it all started. But the M.E.A.S.U.R.E is a wellbeing education company helping organizations do just that, educate people and teams and how they can improve their wellbeing. But yeah, as I said, drop me a line. Much rather do the sales pitch off of a podcast rather than on a podcast. So, Mark, over to you. Please, if you can, introduce yourself. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Oh, well, firstly, thanks, Rich, for the opportunity and the invite to come along today to talk about motivation. It's an important topic. I think people don't probably understand, and hopefully after this podcast, they'll understand a bit more about what motivation really is. I had 30 years in a family retail business, and I was lucky enough to sell that business. And I realized after selling that business that motivations was sometimes high, sometimes low. And so I got interested in the topic. And then I went to a webinar and found out about the tool that we're going to talk about with regards to identifying, measuring motivation, which was the first thing I got into before I really opened my coaching business. And it's fundamental to my work, understanding what drives people. Since that initial sort of start off, I've now I created the Reluctant Leader Academy because I was a reluctant leader. I got to that position in my business where I was managing people most of the time. Didn't really want to. I wasn't motivated by it. And then I wrote a book in lockdown, which I call Motivated, where I talk about the 7 steps to get the measure of your business, and there's fundamental motivational bits in that book as well. So it's motivation is what I talk about most of the time. I do other things, but motivation is key to most of what I do.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great place to start. And so my question to start with is, what is motivation?
Well, the simple way to think about motivation is it's the reason why we do something. So if you break it down, it's I can't remember what the term is. So motivation is, there's 2 words, motive and action. So the motive is the reason, the action is the thing that we do because of it. And some people get a bit confused because with inspiration and motivation, what's the difference? So the way I describe the difference is we can get inspired by anyone. But motivation comes from within. It's our reason. So can anybody really motivate us? Can they give us a reason? I think that's quite difficult. So yes, we can be inspired, but actually motivation is something that comes from within, and understanding what drives us is key.
Yeah, I love that. I've just written that down: motive and action, reason to do something, and then there's something you do. I love that. Okay, and so you've got this tool which you help people understand their own motivation. Can you introduce motivational maps?
Yeah, so I was on one of your podcasts, listening to one of your podcasts a few months ago, and you were talking about Clarity 4D, which is a behavioural style tool, and these tools are great for insight into how we do things. The motivational maps is different in that it talks about the why. It's the why we do things. So there's quite that both have really strong reasons to be used, understanding how we do something and then understanding why. So motivational maps basically makes us understand what it is that gets us out of bed in the morning, our reason to do what we do, and most importantly, it gives us an idea of where we are currently with our motivation, because it gives us a score with regard to our fulfillment levels for all our motivators. So once you have that, you can then make clearer decisions. And let's face it, when you're coaching anybody, whether it's an individual team, what they really want more than anything is clarity. They want clarity with regards to why are we doing this and what's the outcome I can expect. And so the more you can give them with regards to, well, this is our starting point, this is why we're doing it, and that's where we're going towards. That helps people realize, actually, I know where I'm going. And motivational maps is a great description of what it does, because what does a map give you? It gives you a direction. And a map is the direction, gives you your direction. And once you see your map, you can decide, well, actually, that's not the direction I want to go. And you can change motivations, because motivations have the 3 things that affect our motivations. It's our past, our present circumstances, and our future expectations. So with motivation, one of the difference between a motivational map and a psychometric is, once you've done the psychometric, in most cases, you don't really need to do another one, because you now know your preferred style, whereas motivations will change. And so if things are changing, then you need to sort of check in quite regularly, and particularly with the type of clients I work with, business owners, because they can start a business with certain motivators, and as time goes by, the motivations change because the circumstances are changing, the things they've experienced, and their aspirations are changing, so motivations are changing with them. And so it's important to keep up with those changes and adapt to them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to pick on that 3 elements of motivation and dive into it a little bit more, if you can.
Yeah, sure. So if we think about past, present, and future, so what is our past? Our past, the influence our past has is basically everything up until this point. So the things that we've experienced, the way we've been brought up. So this is very much connected to our personality. So that is the sort of drive that's sort of the influence behind the past. Then we have the present circumstances. So present circumstances can, stay stable for a long time, or they can change. So our motivation can change with regards to a change in circumstances. So if, one day our house burnt down, then, without doubt, that is going to have an effect on our motivations, because, things are going on that we need to deal with, and the things we want and need have changed. And so that's the middle element with regards to circumstances. And if we all relate to, we were talking about the pandemic before we went live, that was a massive change in circumstances for all of us, and we had to adapt to it, didn't we? And some people were actually embraced it and actually were motivated by it because they saw a change, a positive change. Other people, particularly those that like stability, were having a big problem with it, and also the people that want connection, that couldn't connect with people, they were having trouble with it. So circumstances have an effect on all of us, so we've got to take that into account. And then the third element is the future aspirations and expectations. So those things will change as possibilities become sort of more clearer. Then we think, well, I can do that. I didn't have that in my plan when I started my business, but now that I'm up and running, I've got different things I want to do. There's different things that I want to make sure that I'm sort of delivering for the business. And actually my role in the business, I want it to be different than I envisaged when I started the business. And that tends to be around, more freedom, because that's sort of a motivator that towards the end of our career becomes more and more important, because we want to make our own choices and do the things that we want to do. Not to say that we can't have that early on in our career, but mostly it tends to be more towards the end of that sort of business or the career cycle. So that's how those three elements are always, and those three elements are sort of affecting our motivation, and they're all three elements are always changing. So that's why motivations change, because they can subtly change, but sometimes they can have can dramatically change from in quite a short space of time. So it's important to keep checking in with it.
Yeah. And as you said, I was going to ask, is one more important than the other? But I guess it comes down to situation and individual.
Well, it would do. And also our map gives an indication as to which element is more important to them. So the 9 motivations are grouped into 3 groups of relationship, achievement, and growth. So if you find someone has a particularly strong cluster around relationships, then they tend to be quite sort of past focused. It's just those that are more achievement focused are more present day achievement focused, and then the growth focused, more growth focused maps indicate that people are more focused on their future and moving towards what they want in the future, as opposed to what they've already got now.
Yeah. And I can even see that playing out. My brain's gone to exercise, and because motivation for me for a long time is about making change for people. So I want to go to exercise, the one topic which I think for some reason really resonates with me, with the amount of backlash I get. I'm not motivated to go to the gym. I'm not motivated to stick to my diet.
Yeah,
those kind of things. But I can see how actually all 3 can be relevant in some situations. And I look at it and go, okay, the past is, I'm not happy with how I've lived my past, or the way that past has played out, the kind of person I was, the identity maybe. I'm in this situation where I am now, and I'm not happy with that, and that I want to make a change. And this is what I see myself in the future to be. And actually, that's the motivator. I say wrong word. There's a change that I want to make, and that's the person I want to be later on. So each element I can see playing as a motivator for that change, to get to the gym, to maybe stick to your nutrition. But I guess the key part is recognizing and using them. How would you use those things in that scenario?
Well, as you say, it's an interesting concept. Is how do you get people to stick to something that they know they need to do? So I mean, the classic example: people join the gym in January and then go once or twice and then carry on playing, but they don't go. So I think the important thing is you've got to go back to the reason why you want to do something. And so the reason being that, so to give an example, if you are going to be standing on stage in front of a lot of people, your motivation to go to the gym is that I want to look as best I can in front of all those people. So it's the connection to, you know, how you want to feel. It's not necessarily how people are going to judge you, but more about, I'm going to stand on that stage and I'm going to feel the best I can because I know I put the work in and I'm looking the best I can for, you know, for the person I want to be. And so I think motivations in that respect, and particularly with the physical motivation to do things, is thinking about the outcome. Why am I doing this? Why am I going to go to the gym? Because there'll be motivation to get you started, but I think going to the gym is more about getting it into your daily sort of habits, isn't it? And making it part of who you are. So it's like, I am a person that goes to the gym 3 times a week. That is the person I am. And if I don't go, then, you know, I know that there's a downside. So motivation has an element, but ultimately it helps us to get it started. But we all know that it's not just about motivation. It's determination and keeping an eye on why I'm doing it is the important part, I think.
Yeah, I just want to add this and get your thoughts on it, because I really enjoyed the way you put that, because it talks about the importance of goals and maybe even putting a thing in place to achieve, so rather than just a goal of a weight, the standing on stage concept of actually something where you have to go and be at a certain point by a certain point, this element of kind of a SMART goal rather than just I'd like to be 10 kilos lighter, right? There's actually a thing which is going to potentially for future motivate you. I can see how that would work for like maybe a marathon. Like it is something in the future which you have to go and do, and so the exercise there is going to be a part.
Well, what I like to think about with regards to motivation is the reward that we really want at the end. And each of the 9 motivations, which we can come on to what they are in a while, but each motivation has a clear set of sort of rewards that are linked to it. And once you think about those things, so let's think about money. Okay, so that's the simple. Most people understand the concept of money. So if you're driven by money and material satisfaction, then it's sort of easy to measure, isn't it? And you know what sort of reward you want. So if you're working towards a financial goal, but sometimes the important thing is to reward yourself on the journey, because you're not suddenly going to jump from A to B. You're going to need steps. So someone that's driven by material satisfaction, rather than just focusing on the outcome or the end goal of maybe a financial reward, is to have stepping stones of financial or material satisfaction that comes along. So small rewards to say, I've achieved, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, and that's all in the right direction to what I ultimately want to achieve. So, you know, I'm sure in your, you know, when you're talking to clients about their goals, is that sometimes we have to break it down into manageable steps, because sometimes if you just focus on the future too much and not thinking about the day to day and rewarding yourself for doing the things day to day, then that becomes difficult and too difficult, and that's why people give up. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people stop going to the gym, because first of all they don't see any change. They've been going for maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times. They don't see any different. They're not feeling any different. They're just dragging themselves out of bed to go or whatever it is, and giving up other things that they might prefer to do. They don't see it quick enough. So the important thing is to reward yourself in the way that you know you're going to appreciate. And if money is the thing, then money. But sometimes if freedom is, then give yourself a break. If freedom is one of your top motivators, then reward yourself with a bit of time off or something like that. So that's the key. The reward strategy is the key.
Yeah, I love that. And I really want to explore those 9 things and the rewards afterwards. I have one question about this past present thing, because I can really understand it and see it from a future and maybe even a present standpoint. But whenever you can help me understand it from a past in regards to a reward, you use relationship, you use a relationship focused person. Can you just elaborate or give me an example?
The best example is to talk about what you know about, and that's Clarity 4D, isn't it? You know how that works. So, so it's, if you think about behaviors, that's essentially who we are, and our personality. And so our personality will give us certain ways of doing things that motivate us. Yeah. So it's more about the how rather than the why in many respects. So that's how our personality or our past, I mean, it follows us around. So you mean tomorrow this podcast will be in the past, won't it? So our past is following us, as well as our present is changing all the time, and our future focus. So I think that's the best way to think about it. Up to this point, we are a combination of the things that we've experienced, and so that's going to be the thing that's going to affect how our past influences our motivations.
Okay, so it's an influence on rather than a motivator for.
But we all have all these elements going on, so it wouldn't be just that. But you might come across people that are particularly focused on their personality and driven from the relationship point of view, as opposed to the achievement or the growth. And so it's about where your focus is. And if you're focused on relationships, it tends to be you're more about what's already happened to you. With regards to achievement, it's about the things that are in front of you and you're trying to achieve. And the growth is about, what does the future look like? What am I moving towards?
Yeah, I think.
And there's also a speed factor as well. So people that are growth motivated tend to be more quick to make decisions, and they're moving in that direction quite quickly. Whereas the relationship focused individuals are more, take a little bit more time. They take decisions slower. One of the things we look at when we get a team motivational profile is how adaptable they are to change. And so that's quite important, because as we know in the workplace, it's one thing that's almost certain these days, is that there's always going to be change going on. So if you've got a team that is, not particularly friendly towards change, then you've got to manage them in a way that you've got to sell the concept, make sure they know the reason why they're doing it, and all those sort of things. So, that's how leadership can be a lot easier when you understand the dynamics of the motivations in your team.
Yeah, I agree there, 100%. So let's get into this map and these 9 areas. So yeah, over to you.
Okay, so the 9 motivations, they're grouped, as I said, into 3 groups: relationship, achievement, and growth. The 3 relationship motivators are the defender, which is about stability and predictability.
Can you also add the reward? Sorry, whether you're just about to do that. But
so the defender likes stability, so they like things to be regular and expected, and they don't like things to be particularly thrown on them at the last minute. They like to plan things out. The friend comes to work for connection and belonging. So a reward for them is to make their work social and the ability to connect to other people. The star is the final relationship motivator, and that's recognition. And the reward for somebody that's star is to be put in the limelight, so they get noticed. Essentially, that's what they want.
But so I feel like I'm very much a relationship person.
Okay. Well, you might think once I go through the other 6 motivators, you might think, well, all these are relevant, and the important thing is to put them in the right order for you.
Yeah,
so,
true.
So moving on to the 3 achievement motivators, there's the director. The director wants to be in charge and be responsible. So what do they want? Well, they want responsibility. Give them things that they're responsible for. That's their reward. The builder is the money driver, the people that are driven by material satisfaction and money. So their reward is not just to give them money, but give them an opportunity to maybe get bonuses and those sort of things that they can work towards. And as I say to anybody that's high builder, when I've seen their map, is there's 2 things that businesses will pay for, and that's expertise or responsibility. and their map will indicate which one of them would be more preferable for them. And then the third achievement motivator is the expert, and the expert likes to learn and have a deep knowledge of what they do. So the reward they want is opportunities to learn, put them on courses and opportunities to learn, anything like that gives them the opportunities to deepen their knowledge. And then the three growth motivators, the spirit, mentioned this one already. The spirit is about freedom, autonomy. So a spirit doesn't want to be managed. They want to be able to set their own sort of agenda as such. They want to be clear about the outcome that they're working towards, but they don't really want to be managed with regard to how it's done. So give them as much space and ability to manage their time as possible. The creator is all about innovation and bringing in new ideas. And as we know, businesses need, there's two things, as Peter Drucker said, that make money for businesses, and that's one is marketing and the other is innovation. So creators like innovation, new ideas, bringing things in. It's one of my top motivators. So I like new ideas and making the new technology work within a business environment. And creators, the reward they want is opportunities to innovate and bring new ideas into a business. And then finally, the searcher. The searcher is the drive to make a difference and do something that's purposeful. So what does the searcher, the reward they want more than anything is good, clear feedback with regards to the difference they make. So I don't think pretty much all of us are lacking in the feedback we need. So in the workplace, searchers are the ones that particularly want the feedback to understand the difference that they make. Why do they do what they do? And so that's key for their line manager to know that they need plenty of good quality feedback with regards to how they're doing and the difference that they make.
I love that. What are is it top 3, top 5? How do you?
So the map basically puts the 9 motivations in order from most important down to the least important. And we then focus on the top 3 in the map. Sometimes we need to focus a little bit more than that because there might be scores that are quite close. And so we might extend it to the top 4, even sometimes the top 5. That's not typical, but always the top 3. And then we also look at the lowest motivator. So the lowest motivator is the thing that we pay least attention to. And again, I'm sure in your work, sometimes the thing we pay least attention to is our Achilles heel, the thing that is tripping us up. So it can be a key insight with regards to what do I need to do more of that I'm not focused on at the moment because it's not motivating me. Because sometimes you need to do those things, because especially with running a business. So a typical example would be maybe the star motivator being the lowest with a business owner. So the star wants recognition and being noticed. So the thing you want at least is to be noticed, and you're trying to run a business. How does that sort of, with regards to behaviors, are you actually showing up? Are you promoting yourself? Essentially, are you marketing yourself? And going back to the two things that every business needs, it needs marketing and it needs innovation. So sometimes it's a clear indicator of the lowest motivator with regards to, an Achilles heel. But so there's the two elements is identifying the top 3, making sure those are being fulfilled in your role, and look at your lowest motivator and just check to make sure that isn't becoming a problem and holding you back.
So what are your top 3?
Okay, so my top 3 at the moment, my last map was top 1 was searcher. So being purposeful and doing something worthwhile. It's the creator. So innovation, new ideas is something that drives me. So I'm always on board with using maps in a different way and being creative with regards to the way I use motivational maps. And then the spirit. So it's freedom, autonomy to do the things in the way I want to do in the time that I've got available to me. So those are the top 3 at the moment. Because I do a motivation map every year. What I notice is my expert motivator, which is currently my 4th, sometimes jumps into my top 3, sometimes goes to my second or my third.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm in a position where I just want to deeper knowledge with regards to what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the key insight with regards to, you know, if the experts in my top 3, what courses and learnings have I got in my diary? Am I fulfilling that? So that's just a key indicator with regards to what things are in your diary that actually are fulfilling those key motivators.
Yeah, I really like that additional bit. My next question was going to be, how are you using that knowledge to create motivation? Those 3 areas.
Well, it's essentially, there's a strategy in the motivational map. It gives you 3 strategies for each of your top 3 motivators. So there's 9 strategies that you can choose to basically just introduce into your day-to-day. And sometimes they can be very, very sort of straightforward. Say, like a defender, because they like stability, then how tidy is your desk? And those sort of things can make a big difference. If they can just say, right, well, actually, my desk is a right mess now. Spending 5 minutes tidying your desk up will make you feel good about your environment. So sometimes it's very small things. Other times it's about changing your behavior to introduce things that maybe you've not been doing. So are you familiar with the stop-start review, Rich? Yeah. The stop-start reviews are perfect with regards to deciding on what you need to start doing, stop doing, do more of, do less of, and also, most importantly, what you need to continue doing. And that's doing, being, and having. So you can break it down and fill in a stop-start review, and then gives you an idea of the actions and behaviours that you need to introduce or actually to eliminate that aren't helping you.
Yeah. A bit of a detour, and I'm very aware of this. Earlier on, you used the word discipline.
Yeah.
Where does discipline fall into motivation?
Well, it works alongside motivation, because not everything you do will be driven by motivation. Sometimes you need to put in place something that will just keep you doing something, and it feels a bit hard because it's not something that you naturally are motivated by. But you know, sometimes you have to do these things to go alongside the motivation piece. So motivation, as we say, if you understand your top 3 motivators, just make sure that you are fulfilling those top 3 motivators as much as you can. But you won't be able to do it all the time, like every single minute of every day and every week. So in between, you are doing things that are more down to discipline that you know you have to do, but aren't necessarily the things that motivate you. That's being realistic. It's just not realistic to do only the things that motivate you, especially if you're running your own business. There'll be a time, as you know, before you built a team, when you will definitely have to do things that are more discipline than motivation. That's just a fact of life.
Yeah, the admin. Yeah, I love that example. How do you? Okay, I'm going to go back to exercise, because it's the one thing which I've always had people come to me and argue the motivation over discipline debate. And I think mainly because sometimes exercise for some people can be a really hard thing to introduce and stick to and create habits around and identities around. How do you bypass the motivation or to continue the discipline? Have you got any tips there?
Well, the thing is, we don't want to go to the gym, and we don't really want to exercise, because if we wanted to do it, then it wouldn't be an issue. We would just be doing it because we enjoy doing it. So we're making ourselves do something that we're not naturally doing. So that's the first thing to sort of to acknowledge, really, isn't it? And it goes back to what I said before. You've got to know why you're doing it. Why am I going to the gym? You know, what's the outcome that I want? You know, so another clear example. So I was talking to somebody the other day, and he said, I go to the gym every 3 times a week. I said, all right, that's good to know. He said, well, the thing is, he said, I realised that I'm getting on a bit now, and do you know what? I love skiing. And he said, the one thing I want to do with my grandchildren is take them skiing. And he said, and that's going to be, I'm going to be in my 60s by then. And if I don't keep myself fit, there's no way I'm going to be able to take them skiing, is it? So that's the thing. That's the sort of drive for him, is no, if I want to take my kids skiing when I'm, in my 60s, then I must carry on going to the gym, doing the strength work and all the other things that I know will keep my body in the condition it needs to be, is to do that. So it all comes back to, why do you want to do it in the first place?
Yeah.
And it's not just about, I want to be a gym bunny and say I go to the gym. It's not about that, is it? There must be another reason. And so find out what that reason is. And if it's weight, sometimes people focus too much on just losing amount of weight. Think of the example I've just given you. Do you want to be the best you can be for your grandchildren, and spend time with them and being able to be a healthy person with them, or do you want to be a burden to them because you're unhealthy and because you're always sick, or so it's almost playing mind games with yourself in many respects. But if you've got a clear vision to the future, and that comes back to now leadership. What's leadership all about? It's about having a vision. Where are you taking people? And where are you taking yourself? So understand what's important to you. And then motivations will help you. It's not the only thing, but it will help you keep you doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that example as well, because it resonates with me. I don't have kids yet. When I do, I want to be fitter than them, all the way through their teenage years. That's my kind of motivator, is to be fitter than my kids, and so that's kind of the goal, right? So I can see that motivation.
Just one thing that we haven't covered yet, I know we're probably running out of time, but the importance of leadership with regards to understanding motivation. So I've just done, I do this quite often, but what's fresh in my mind, I've just done an exercise with a client and a small team, and identifying their top motivators, and also I've got a tool which identifies preferred leadership styles. And what I found is that his leadership style was not in line with the motivations of his team. So he was more inclined to coach and mentor his team. Well, actually, what came out of the exercise was that delegation is the key leadership style that he needs to use, because he's got a team of spirits. Spirits want freedom and autonomy. So what do they want? They want delegated responsibility, not to tasks, but they want responsibility for outcomes. And so delegation is the key skill, or the key leadership style that he needs to use as much as possible. So that was his key insight, and now he's obviously changing his behavior with regards to that. So it can have a massive effect on the way you feel about leadership, and also going back to clarity, understanding the best way to lead my team, because now I understand their motivations. I can play my part. It's not about taking responsibility for their motivation. It's about playing your part as the leader of the team.
I think that's a really nice. I didn't know. I was just about to go into that leadership bit, but I'm glad you jumped in. An awareness as a leader of how your people want to show up and want to work is so important. And it's nice, as you said, like if you can find out what their motivators are, you can see how that's going to benefit you.
And I know also when you're leading a team, the biggest mistake you make is that everyone's coming to work for the same things as you come to work for. And so you reward people the way that you want to be rewarded. You might be luckier, that might work, but in most cases, it's probably not quite going to be right. And just by having a bit more clarity with regards to adapting your behavior and style with regards to how you lead your team, and also using the right rewards for your team, can have a massive effect on your own well-being. We haven't really talked about well-being as such, but it's how you feel about yourself, and the more motivated you are going to feel better about yourself. That's without doubt. And what is really leadership all about? It's about a transfer of energy. If I'm feeling good, then that's gonna everyone around me is going to feel better, because there's going to be less negative energy going on. So it has massive effects on how you lead and the way you feel about your leadership.
Yeah. I also love the reward. So it's not only just the motivator, it's the reward that they're looking for. So understanding that reward of your people as well. How are they motivated? But what's the reward that they want as well? It takes it slightly deeper into that motivation.
Yeah, I mean, again, we haven't really talked about sort of well, internal and external stuff, but I mean, with regards to motivational maps, it only identifies your inner drive. So all the 9 motivations are your inner drive as what you want. Most importantly, when we come to look at a map, is it's more about, when we talk about the top 3 motivators, are they away from or towards? So again, let's give an example of money. So let's say that a map indicates builder as the top motivator in this instance, which is the drive for money and material satisfaction. Is it that they want more money, or is it are they moving away from not having enough? And that, again, in a coaching scenario, is a key thing to establish, because you might think, oh, you just want lots of money, being that you're driven by money, but actually it's not about that. It's actually not having to worry about money. That's the key, and they're moving away from something that they don't want, as opposed to something that they want. And sometimes those away from motivators can be really powerful. And I've seen in motivational maps people that are being really successful, and what they're doing is they're using their away from motivator because they don't want to experience what they've past experience, so they drive away from it to get the thing that they want more of.
If you haven't done a motivational maps, because not everybody has, which I know you would love, obviously, to do that for everybody, but if they haven't, what's the kind of question you could be asking your team as a leader?
Well, you can use the 9 motivations and put them, print them out and say, well, which ones do you think are your top 3 motivators, and start from that point. But what I know is that, because I do that exercise before I give my clients now their results, I get them to guess, see whether they can actually identify the top 3. And I've only ever had one person get their top 3, but not quite in the same right order, but they've got the top 3 right. So that's a key learning in itself, that it's very difficult to identify your own motivators, because they're all relevant and they're all good, and there's no good or bad motivator. They're all important. But what we're trying to identify at this current time, which ones are most important to you and how are they currently being fulfilled? And if you can't do it easily for yourself, then starting to guess what motivates all those people that you lead in your team, well, that's virtually impossible. And so just talking about motivation, understanding why people come to work, and then just using the 9 motivations and just say, well, which ones do you think are the ones that you want mostly fulfilled in your work on a day-to-day basis? And that's a good starting point for definite, and because you're probably going to get 1, maybe 2 right, but probably not all 3.
And I also and then there's the why question afterwards. Why is that your number 1 motivator? And you might understand whether it's to get away, as you said, get away from the financial situation they're in, or to gain more financial situation. So there may be the why question as well.
But I think the important thing is what do you do after you got your map results and you understand it? And so just to give an example of somebody who found that their motivations weren't really being well met. They were working as a conveyancing lawyer, and they had completely disconnected from the difference they made. So they didn't think they were making a difference. So I got them to go away and check their feedback they got from every client, and it turns out they do make a big difference, because they're very easy to deal with, they're very responsive, blah blah blah, all these positive things. And then once you've got that feedback, then it's amazing how that just makes you feel differently about your work, and say, well, actually I do make a difference around here. But what this particular person did, because of what they learned from their map, was realize that they were just working in too big an organization. So they decided, I want to do the same type of work, but I want to do it in an environment where I am going to be noticed. And so they went to a smaller law firm, and actually moved house to do that. And so sometimes just by changing your environment can be what you need, doing the same sort of work, but in a different environment.
Understanding your purpose. So that sounds like, to me, understanding that purpose and the reason why you do your thing, that will give you more joy and probably make your output better, but impacts all parts of life, right? Look, I really enjoyed this, and I know I've got one more question for you in regards to. I know you're, well, as from leadership standpoint, would prefer for us to take away from appraisals and talk about motivational actionable plans. Can you just expand on that for me?
Well, the problem with appraisals is that it needs, firstly, the person that is conducting those appraisals to be well trained and know how to conduct them. In most instances, that is a problem. And because of that, then the knock-on effect is that each time that those appraisals come round, they're dreaded as opposed to look forward to. And so when you think to yourself, well, if you haven't got someone that can actually deliver them in the way that they need to be, then think about it in a different way. So a motivational action plan will be very much focused on the individual. What is an appraisal for in the first instance? Surely it should be focused on better performance from that individual. So what would be a better place to start than actually find out what they come to work for? Yeah. So that's why an action plan, motivational action plan, can replace appraisals or can be used in conjunction with appraisals. Understanding, what it is, what's the starting point, why do you come to work, how are we currently fulfilling that within the organisation or team, and then you can then connect that to the aspirations for the individual or the team or the organisation, and make the goal setting around what the individual wants and the organisation or the team wants.
Yeah, I love that. Because I think so many people get appraisals wrong, but actually add in the purpose, in the goals, and the success side of things that can make a difference. Mark, thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights. Obviously, people can get in touch with you via LinkedIn, where we're on now. Is there anything else?
No, feel free to connect if there's anything that resonates. Motivation, like I say, is really important to all of us. There's no doubt. And think of it in terms of energy. When you are taking care of your energy, the things that you need, then you're going to be a better place. You're going to feel better, and also that will resonate to all those people that you interact with and manage and lead.
Yeah. Wicked, mate. Thank you. Thank you, Peter, for joining us and adding your comment as well. I hope you enjoyed that. For everybody else, see you next week. Go on podcast next week with Sean Miller, talking about coaching, talking about organizational development, which will be really interesting. Mark, I know you'll probably enjoy that one as well. But Mark, thank you again for your time. Thank you for your insights. Thanks for sharing loads of stuff about motivation. Taking some notes, so I'm looking forward to using that. Sorry, I'm going to steal some of it, but I hope you're okay with that. But yeah, no, appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
No, wicked. Have a lovely week, and I will speak to you soon. Stay where you are, Mark, as well.